Has one Mr. Diagnosis.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I was gasping for breath. And I was seeing little black spots across my vision. And I called out as loud as I could, "Mom, something's wrong." And then I lost consciousness. And at the hospital was that the emergency room doctor listened to my chest and immediately took an x-ray and confirmed what he suspected, that I had a collapsed lung. And they told me it was an 80% lung collapse.
A collapsed lung, or pneumothorax, is a condition in which air escapes from a hole in the lung and builds up in the chest cavity. Eventually, the air presses on the lung until it collapses.
I'm not showing the screen to Mr. Diagnosis to avoid copyright, but I will finish Mama's cookery. I'm just waiting a break from it.
Air that was trapped in my chest cavity was starting to impinge on the function of my heart.
With her heart slowly shutting down, the medical team rushes to insert a tube into Mary's chest to pump out the trapped air.
As soon as I started pumping the air out of my chest, I felt better. I immediately.
But over the next 3 years, Mary finds that she's increasingly winded when she exercises. And one day in the spring of 1996, while forcing herself to jog, her difficulties come to a head.
I could not go on. And I sat on the ground. I felt panicky, first of all, because I couldn't take big gulps of air. I tried to not panic. I had never experienced anything like that before. I went to see a pulmonologist and he gave me a lot of breathing tests. And I performed at about 80% of normal. And it took a lot of effort even to get just 80. And he believed at that point that I was probably suffering from exercise-induced asthma.
Exercise-induced asthma is a condition in which heavy breathing during vigorous exercise irritates the lungs' airways, causing them to contract or narrow.
I was packing up the van. In order to fit more in the van, I decided to take out one of the chairs. When I lifted the chair, I realized that I shouldn't have done it right away because I felt the pain in my shoulder. I felt shortness of breath. And I also had this odd feeling of bubbles going up my back. I realized I must have another lung collapse, and it was on the right side.
We rushed to the ER. Because it happened on this other side, it was a great concern. It was a mystery. Why is this happening again?
We went right in. As soon as he listened to my breathing sounds, he said, "I believe you have another lung collapse." I was pretty upset.
Once again, doctors hook her up to a chest tube and re-inflate her lung.
And that was a tough time. I was so frustrated. We were told that she could have another lung collapse.
And once she's stable, her doctor performs a CT scan to examine the lung more closely. And the results are completely shocking.
There were probably hundreds of little cysts throughout both lungs.
A cyst is a thin-walled bubble filled with air or fluid. It can appear anywhere, has multiple causes, and is usually benign.
And some of them were as big as a nickel or a quarter. And many were like the size of the top of a straw. The doctor explained that the number that I had and the size of some of them was not typical. It was a little sickening to look at, actually.
But when doctors perform a biopsy, they're even more perplexed by what they find.
The pathology reports came back negative.
I was glad that it was nothing obvious, but I was worried that it had to be something. But it was very scary knowing that they didn't know what was causing the cysts.
Baffled, Mary's medical team can't do anything but release her with instructions to continue using her inhaler.
They didn't change my diagnosis of exercise-induced asthma, and I understood that I was getting all the treatments that were available for what they knew at that point. But I got concerned and worried, not having answers.
She was very frustrated.
I turned to my husband and said, "I think I have another lung collapse."
It's lymphangioleiomyomatosis. lymphangioleiomyomatosis.
Lymphangioleiomyomatosis, or LAM, is a rare lung condition. In a healthy individual, contraction and relaxation of smooth muscle cells in the lungs play a crucial role in delivering oxygen into the bloodstream. But in patients like Mary, for some unknown reasons, these cells are both overproduced and abnormal. As a result, not enough blood and oxygen can get to the lung. And so, experts suspect the healthy tissue dies and is replaced by cysts.
LAM impairs blood flow to the lung.
More unsettling, Dr. Balkison can't tell Mary and John what triggered the onset of the disease. But the current theory suggests that LAM is genetic.
Good thing for me is that it is not an inheritable genetic defect. And
That's good.
that kind of gave me hope that my children won't have this.
While the disease is most likely congenital, Mary's first symptom, her collapsed lung, was caused by one of the cysts bursting.
The bursting that occurs in the lung from these various cysts is a purely random event, and we still don't understand exactly why. These cysts will form throughout the lung, but when they form on the very edge of the lung, they can eventually pop or burst. Then when they burst, air starts to escape out of the lung, and it collects in the space between the lung and the chest wall. The chest wall is a very rigid structure, whereas the lung is really collapsible, much like a balloon. So what happens is that air that's building up will push the lung. Actually, as it stands at the current time, there is no known cure for LAM.
That was very hard to accept, that there's nothing I can do about this. There's no medicine I can take. That's very hard.
Like this one, it says the word liar in it.
CAT scan, she has about 40% of involvement. And so she will likely, over the ensuing 10, 15, 20 years, have a progressive decline unless we find some newer therapies that can be used. And she may ultimately need to be considered for lung transplantation.
I was told that you can't survive on less than 25%. So I know that in my future there might be a lung transplant, but I hold on to that as like the last resort. I have a last resort.
Fortunately, some effects of the harrowing disease can be slowed down.
That's good.
After the initial shock wore off, after I learned more about it, then I realized that I could still have hope.
Probably about 20 to 30% of the individuals who have LAM can use bronchodilators that actually will cause relaxation of that smooth muscle to open up the airway. Exercising regularly and keeping the rest of their body fit is essential.
Today, Mary is doing amazingly well, determined to face her disease with hope and optimism.
I work out a lot. I think it helps my health. I consider my lungs, just like every moment in my life, to be like fine china. It's precious. I've learned everything I can about LAM, and I am now working with the LAM Foundation.
I'm really proud of my mom and how she's handled her diagnosis. I think a lot of people would fall victim to self-pity and just give up. But my mom fights it by going out and exercising every day, and she's not giving in. She hasn't changed. She's still a powerhouse.
I tell Mary every day that I love her so much and I'm so grateful.
I censored out a quiz because I thought maybe people would find it offensive. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed because I did. And I will see you next time.